Um, let me see here. Let me see where. Okay. All right. So I think we can start from the beginning again. We can start from the introduction. Omagyanatmirandasya Yanandana Shalakaya Chakshur Minatanyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So all glory to the Divine Master and the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the hidden treasure of the sweet absolute. Maybe we can close these curtains. Revealed to the world by the dearmost associate servitor of the illustrious Gaudiya Vaishnava world preceptors, Divine Grace, Prabhupada Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami, founder Acharya of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math, His Divine Grace, Srimad Bhakti Daksha Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, produced by the merciful wish and direction of his most intimate servitor and personally selected Sevite President Acharya, His Divine Grace, Srimad Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj. Okay, so Mangalacharanam, auspicious invocation. Actually, I think we have a recording of our Gurudev chanting this, so we can listen to that. That is the best thing always. Where's our Bhagavad Gita playlist? Here it is. Okay.
Oh, Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Mangalacharanam Om Parthaya Pratibodhitang Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grasitang Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharati Advaitamritavarshiniं Bhagavati Vashtadashadhyayinim Ambattvamanusandadhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadeshinim Namastute Vyasa Vishalo Buddhe Pullarabindayatapatra Netra Jena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purna Prajalitu Jnanamaya Pradipa.
Okay, maybe we can read those translations. And welcome, Sivasini Didi joined, and we had one or two others also join. Meditation on Sri Gita. O Bhagavad Gita, song of the Supreme Lord Himself, you are the bestower of Arjuna's enlightenment. You have been woven into the scripture Mahabharata by the ancient sage Srila Vedavyas. In 18 chapters, you are the rain of ever-flowing nectar, non-different from the Lord. O Mother, I meditate upon you. May you graciously enter my heart. So this is very beautiful. You know, right from the very beginning, we're being adjusted, right? What is the mood with which we want to begin this undertaking? And so we were discussing this in one of our meetings recently, you know, that whenever it comes to anything of the divine nature, divine substance that we are approaching, the real process is always descending, right? It's coming from up to down. So this is not an empiric attempt. It is not an endeavor of our senses, you know, the mind, you know, the senses, the intellect in any way, but as it is expressing here so beautifully, may you please enter my heart. May you graciously, right, by your own, not that I have any right to this, but it is mercy, it is grace. You know, if you will kindly enter me, that will be by your mercy only. It is not that you are obligated to do that, but it is your mercy. So I'm praying for your mercy. I'm giving my respect, you know, by paying heed to your words. And I'm hopeful that you will respond by mercifully entering my heart, and not, not just my mental system, but the core of my being, the core of my existence. Very beautiful. In 18 chapters, you are the rain of ever-flowing nectar, non-different from the Lord. O Mother, I meditate upon you. May you graciously enter my heart. Namostu te vyasa vishata buddhe, Kulada vindayata patra nitra, Yena traya bharata taila purnaha, Prajwalito jnana maya pradipaha. Obeisances unto Srila Vyasadeva. O Srila Vyasadeva, of formidable intelligence, whose eyes resemble the long petals of the blooming lotus flower, and who ignited the lamp of knowledge, filled with the oil of the Mahabharata, I offer my obeisances unto you. And, actually, Gurudev, this reminds me, there's another pranam mantra of Vyasadeva. Because, we tend to think of Vyasadeva as like an old man with a beard, right? But there's this, it's in the scripture, Garga Samhita, there's a pranam to Vyasadeva as the son of Satyavati, because he was the son of this fisherman's daughter, right? There was the king, I forget the name of the king, he fell in love with her, right? And then their son was Vyasadeva, if I recall correctly. But there's this one prayer to Vyasadeva in the Garga Samhita referring to him as the son of Satyavati, right? And our Gurudev appreciated that so much. It's like a different angle, right? And here also we're hearing Vyasadeva, whose eyes resemble the long petals of the blooming lotus flower, it's having great beauty. Maybe this is referring to spiritual beauty. We also hear in the Mahabharata, right, that Vyasadeva is a little scary looking. And this causes some problems because through some particular set of circumstances, he's supposed to father children for the royal lineage to continue, but we hear the princesses who were supposed to bear his children, they were afraid to look at him, and this caused some complications. So perhaps maybe this is referring to a younger Vyasadeva, more beautiful Vyasadeva, or spiritual beauty. But very, very charming description. And this analogy, these types of analogies are often given in the scriptures. They just help everything click for us, right? So the lamp of knowledge filled with the oil of the Mahabharata, right? Vyasadeva is the igniter of that lamp of knowledge. I offer my obeisances unto you. Okay, now let's go back and hear Gurudev.
Prapanna parijataya tutra vetraikapanaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gitamrita Duhe Namaha.
Okay, so we can also chant this. Prapana parijataya tutra vetraikapanaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gitamrita Duhe Namaha. Obeisances unto the Lord as the chariot driver of Arjuna. So this is a very specific way, right, of referring to the Lord, right, as the chariot driver of his devotee. I mean, how sweet, how wonderful is that? That the Lord is taking this humble position as the driver of his devotee. This is arguably the most extraordinarily wonderful thing about Bhagavad Gita. And we hear that in that incident when Mahaprabhu is traveling in South India, right? And he comes across this illiterate devotee who's trying to read the Bhagavad Gita, but he can't really read it. And he's crying also while he's going through it. And Mahaprabhu is asking, why are you trying to read this when you obviously can't really read? And he said, oh, my guru requested me, please read this every day with faith. And so I'm doing so. And then Mahaprabhu saying, and why is it that you're crying? Oh, I'm just thinking, how loving, how merciful is the Lord, taking this humble position as the chariot driver of this devotee. So I'm crying these tears of ecstasy, just thinking of that. What more do I need to know, actually, that there is such a sweet and loving conception of the Lord? I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna, who fulfills the wishes of his surrendered devotees. He holds a driving rod in one hand, while the other is poised in the expression of instruction, and he is the milker of the nectar of the Gita. And now this next verse, so if we have persons in the group who would like to memorize important key verses, we were just discussing this the other day, then this is one that I would put on the list. This next one, verse number 4. Very beautiful verse, which our Gurudev liked very much.
Sadbhupanishadu gavu dugdha gopalanandana partho vatsah sudhir bhakta dugdham gitamritam mahat.
So it gives this quite charming and somewhat elaborate analogy, right? The glories of the Gita, the crest jewels of the Vedas, all the Upanishads are as the cow. And the milker of the cow is Lord Shri Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj. Arjuna is the calf. The nectar of the Gita is the milk. And the fortunate devotees are the enjoyers of that milk. So we can break this up a little for those who do want to memorize. We were discussing this, right, the other day, that it's helpful to know the meaning if we want to memorize. Sarvo Panishado Gavo. So all the Upanishads, they are being compared to a cow. Gopala Nandana. So the Dogda Gopala Nandana. Krishna, he's being described as the milker of that cow. And then Parto Vatsa. Parto is referring to Arjuna. Vatsa is the calf. Parto Vatsa. Sudhir Bhokta. And who are the enjoyers, the drinkers of the milk? They are being referred to as Sudhir. Sudhir refers to someone who is a very sober mind. Deep and sober mind. They are Bhokta, they are the enjoyers of this. And Dugdam Gitam Ritam Mahat. And the milk is the nectar of Gita. Very nice analogy. Sarvo Panishado Gavo Dogda Gopala Nandana Parto Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dugdam Gitam Ritam Mahat. Not so difficult to learn. It has a sweet ring to it, right? The crest jewels of the Vedas. And so just to maybe unpack that a little for those who aren't familiar, the Upanishads, they're being, so crest jewels, like the crown jewels, like the cream of the Vedas. They are sometimes the Upanishads are referred to sometimes in that way. Why? The Upanishads, they are a particular section of the Vedic literature which are given special respect. And why? Because they're dealing exclusively with spiritual advice. Many sections of the Vedas are giving mixed knowledge, right? Knowledge that is pertaining to our lives as human beings in this world, call it in the realms of politics, sense pleasure, agriculture, and so on. Right? Karma Kanda section of the Vedas, But these Upanishads, they're dealing exclusively with subtle spiritual knowledge that is relevant for the Atma, for the soul. And so there's some special respect that is given for the Upanishads. So they're being compared to this cow. And then the essence of, so then it's also being expressed here, right, that the Bhagavad Gita is the essence of the message of the Upanishads, right? Described, compared here to the milk that is coming from that cow. And the fortunate, blessed, sober-minded devotees, they are drinking that milk. But how can you drink that milk, right? First of all, the mother needs to have a calf, right? Who's initially inspiring the flow of milk, right? So there has to be some baby cow who's inspiring that. And so that is being represented by Arjuna, right? But then you also need a milker of that cow, and that is Krishna. So it's a very wonderful analogy. Okay, we can go on to verse number 5.
Vasudeva Sutang Devam Kansachanuramartanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnang Bande Jagadgurum.
You can hear how Gurudev is really relishing chanting these verses. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagadgurum. Obeisances unto Lord Shri Krishna. I bow unto the lotus feet of Shri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the vanquisher of the demons Kamsa and Chanura, the joy of Mother Devaki, and the universal teacher. Okay. And so as I mentioned, right, the scriptures, they're sometimes giving analogies. So we see there are many analogies here. Quite elaborate. This is quite an elaborate analogy here. So we're on verse 6.
Bhishatrona tata jayatrasajala Gandhara nirutpala Shalya grahavati kripena bahani Karnena belakula Ashwathama vikarna ghora makara Durjodhana vartini Sotirna Khalu pandavai rananati Kaivartaka kesava.
Okay, so let's all chant that. Bhishma Drona Tata Jayadratha Jala Gandharani Lotpala Chalya Grahavati Kripena Vahani Karnena Velakula Ashwatthama Vikarna Gora Makara Duryodhana Vartini Sotirna Kalupanda Vayanam Kaivartaka Kesha. So this battle of Kurukshetra is being compared to a river. One bank is Bhishma, the other Dronacharya. So Bhishma and Drona, they are two great, powerful generals. Right? And actually, both of them, they are obliged to support the Kauravas, right? Duryodhana's side. But their hearts are actually with, if I'm not mistaken, their hearts are with the Pandavas. But if I'm not mistaken, both of them are obliged to support, fight on the side of Duryodhana. Jayadratha is the water, the sons of Gandhari. So the sons of Gandhari, that's referring to Duryodhana, right, and all his brothers, Dhritarashtra's sons, the Kauravas. The blue, so the sons of Gandhari compared to the blue lotus flower in that river. Shalya, the crocodile, Kripa, the waves, Karna, the shore, Ashwatthama, Vikarna and Kampi, the fearful sharks, Duryodhana, the whirlpool, and Keshava, Krishna, is the boatman of this river of the battle that was crossed by the Pandavas. Very nice. this analogy of like a dangerous ocean or river is often given, like compared to as an analogy for the, you know, the troubles of and the entanglement of mundane life, right? And our gurus, they are the guides. And in one verse in Bhagavatam, Nirdeham Adyam Sulabam Sudorlabam Plavam Sukalpam Guru Karnadara. Plavam Sukalpam Guru Karnadara. Maya Maya Napulena Nabasvateditam. You hear in this verse in Bhagavatam, the Guru is being compared. The human body is compared to the ship, the boat that can help you cross the ocean of mundane existence. And Guru is the captain. Guru is the captain of the ship who will guide us across. So in the same way that Krishna is compared to the boatman who's ferrying these pandavas across this dangerous ocean, the battle of Kurukshetra. Okay, so let's continue. Now we've reached verse number 7.
पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितं लोके सज्जनषट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद् भारतपङ्कजं कलिमलप्रध्वंसी नः श्रेयसे.
Okay, so let's chant the verses together. Pada Sharya Vacha Sarojam Amalam Gitartagandotkatam Nana Kyana Kakisaram Harikata Sambodhana Bodhitam Loke Sajana Shatpadera Haraha Tepiya Manam Muda Uyad Bharata Pankajam Kalimala Pradvamsina Shreyase. So now the Mahabharata is compared to a lotus flower. So the battle of Kurukshetra was compared to this dangerous, treacherous river that is to be crossed by the Pandavas. And remember, this whole Bhagavad Gita, as we were reminded earlier, is appearing within the Mahabharata, right? This greater text. So this Mahabharata has been compared to lotus. I mean, this is just wonderful, isn't it? I mean, like our gurus are making this easier for us, actually. They're making this sweeter for us. Like they've put in time and effort to make all these wonderful analogies, right? The Upanishads compared to the cow, the Gita is the milk of the cow. I mean, they're just so wonderful, these analogies. Like you're going to remember these, you know, the battle of Kurukshetra is a river, and now Mahabharata is a lotus flower. Like these are things that are going to stick in your mind, right? Help to capture our mind. It's all of this. These words of Sri Krishna Dvaipayan Vyasadeva, the son of Padashar Muni. Oh yeah, I got that wrong. That's right. It was Padashar Muni who fell in love with Satyavati. And then how did the king fit into everything? Oh yeah, that's right. She did get married to a king. That was later. Yeah, this was actually quite interesting. Yeah, because the conception of Vyasadeva happened earlier. And it was with this Parashar Muni. And he was a great Muni, right? He's a sage. You know, he's supposed to be sense controlled. But he was overcome, you know, and she's a fisherman's daughter, and she has this duty of like ferrying people in a boat across a river. And it said like, oh, he was like overcome with attraction for her. And they had a union like in the middle of the boat, in the middle of the river. And our Gurudev, he actually commented on that, like, you know, you could criticize Parashar Muni and say, oh, he's just controlled by lust and so on. But Gurudev explained, actually, it's not like that. Like there was some greater purpose behind this, because the appearance of Vyasadeva, it was time for the appearance of Vyasadeva, and Parashar Muni was supposed to come through him. right? And through Satyavati, it was like a destined thing. And so because for this higher purpose, he was overcome with that energy at that moment. So it's quite interesting, isn't it? How, and our Gurudev also gave some warning, like, you know, we want to be careful, like not to just go and apply this according to our convenience, right? Oh yeah, you think it's just mundane. It's actually for some higher purpose. Like we don't want to kid ourselves. But, you know, there are cases like that. And so it, like, essentially it comes down to being careful to what we deduce through our empiric senses, right? So yes, now I remember this Parashar Muni is the father, this Satyavati is the mother, their parents would be Vyasdev. Then later on, there was a king who fell in love with Satyavati and they married. But they couldn't have any sons who could continue. And so that's why she called Vyasadeva, who was her son from before, to come and help continue with the lineage, right? And then one of her sons was Bhishma. And I'm remembering, it's like super, you know, complex. You know, like, you know, sometimes our devotees, when they want to convey how complicated something is, they'll just say it's a Mahabharata situation, right? Or something like that. All the intricate like webs and intrigue and complexity of relationships. My goodness. Yeah, so that was what happened, right? Because there was some fear that Bhishma, her son, would try, or was he her son or someone else's son? But somehow Bhishma was connected with the family line. And so to pacify, actually, I think Bhishma was the son of the king. And Satyavati, she wanted her son to be king. And so to pacify her, Bhishma took a vow that he wouldn't have any children, he would never marry. But then it ended up biting them in the foot because her own offspring she wasn't able to produce sons who could continue. And so then, Bhishma had already taken the vow and he's not going to break his vow. He was requested to break it, but he's not going to break his vow. And so then Satyavati in desperation called for her son, who's living like as this wild rishi in the Himalayas, got like crazy hair and, you know, the whole deal. And then he's supposed to father the children of these beautiful young princesses. So anyway, we won't get too sidetracked with that. Okay, so these words of Sri Krishna Dvaipayan Vyasadeva, the son of Parashar Muni, are a perfect lotus flower. Okay, so I'm just trying to enter into this now. The meaning of the Gita is the beautiful fragrance of this lotus. The various episodes are its stamens, and the enlightening narrations about the Supreme Lord are its nectar. In this world, the pure devotees are the bees who day after day delight in drinking the nectar of the lotus flower. May this Mahabharat lotus, the vanquisher of all evils in this age of Kali, graciously bestow auspiciousness upon us. I'm going to read this one more time. The Mahabharat is a lotus flower. These words of Sri Krishna Dvaipayan Vyasadeva, the son of Parashar Muni, are a perfect lotus flower. The meaning of the Gita is the beautiful fragrance of this lotus. The various episodes are its stamens, and the enlightening narrations about the Supreme Lord are its nectar. In this world, the pure devotees are the bees who day after day delight in drinking the nectar of the lotus flower. May this Mahabharat lotus, the vanquisher of all evils in this age of Kali, graciously bestow auspiciousness upon us. Okay, so we can continue now. Verse 8.
Yang Brahma Varunendra Rudra Maruta Stunnanti Dibbaistavai Irbedai Sangha Pada Kramupanishade Kayanti Jang Samaga Dhyanavasthita Tadgati Namanasa Pashyanti Jang Yogino Jasyantang Navidu सुरासुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः.
Okay, let's chant this all together. Yam Brahm Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Maruta Stunvanti Divyaistave Vedai Sangha Parakramo Panidashe Gayanti Asamadaha Jnana Vastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yasyantam Navidu Surasura Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Obeisances unto the Supreme Lord. I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Lord, whose glories are sung with celestial prayers by the gods Brahma, Varun, Indra, Rudra, and the Maruts, whose glories are sung by the verses of the Vedas, along with their 6 auxiliary books and the Upanishads, whose glories are sung by the Brahmins that sing the Sama Veda, who the yogis see within their hearts absorbed in meditation, and whose infinite glories are inconceivable to all beings, whether gods or demons. Okay, so let's go back here, this last verse here.
नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये. जय सबरीकर श्री गुरु गौरंग गंधर्वा गोविंद सुंदर जी की जय.
That's the end of that Mangalacharanam invocation. So we can chant this together. Narayanam namaskritya nadam chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat. I'm wondering what, since I think this might be a typo here. I think there's meant to be an A here. Yeah, there's meant to be a short A there. And I'm pretty sure our Gurudev pronounced it too. I'm going to listen one more time. Yeah, I'm pretty sure our Gurudev pronounced it.
से श्री गुरु में खेम तरंग भवि संजय वाच एव मुक्तार्जुन संखे रथोपस्थ उपाविशत् विसृज्य सशरं चापं शोक संग विघ्नमान. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये. नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये. जय सबरीकर श्री गुरु गौरंग गंधर्वा गोविंद सुंदर जी की जय.
Okay, so did we already chant that? Before reciting the scripture that can conquer material existence, we offer obeisances unto the Supreme Lord, who's known as Narayan, Nara, and Narottam, the goddess of learning Saraswati, and the great sage empowered by the Lord to reveal the scriptures, Srila Vyasadeva. All right. Well, would anyone in our group like to share any thoughts? Suvasini Didi, anything you'd like to add? Anything you'd like to share before we go on? And welcome Narottam to join us, and Radhana Rupini joined us.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add. Actually, it's all fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So please let us know if there's anything you'd like to.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
We're very happy to have you in our group. And if anyone else would like to add a comment or ask a question, then please also feel free. So we still have a little time. Let's we can continue. And, you know, it's nice to go through, like there is a tendency to kind of just want to jump ahead to the text, but our Gurudev, I remember he gave a talk once in Navadvip where he specifically making this point that it's important to start, you know, from the introduction and, you know, like really approach the text in the proper spirit and you know, not also to jump around too much. And of course, sometimes, you know, we'll go to the Gita for reference and go to different scriptures and texts for reference, but in general, we want to read in a careful way with honor and go through properly from the beginning to the end. That's generally how we want to do things. It is a way of giving honor to the text and making sure we're developing, you know, more solid, clear understanding. All glory to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Preface. Publisher's note, first Bengali edition. Appearance Day of Lord Krishna, 1961. So this is a translation, obviously. And this is by our Gurudev, I believe, Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda. And our Gurudev, he, as I was mentioning recently, he actually, he did most of the translation for our Bengali edition, right? Translation from the Sanskrit under the guidance of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And it's known as Srila Sridhar Maharaj's Gita, but the work was primarily done by Gurudev and of course published by Gurudev. And this is 1961. So this is a translation. Okay. Unique in its wide publication and extensive circulation, the Srimad Bhagavad Gita appears in various languages, both in India and other countries, along with the commentaries of former great saints, as well as modern scholars. The commentaries of the prominent Vaishnava acharyas, such as Sri Ramanuja, Srimat Madhva Muni, and Sri Sridhar Swamipad. And this Sridhar Swamipad, of course, is not referring to our, you know, Param Guru Srila Bhakti-Daksha Sridhar Dev Goswami, but this Sridhar Swami, he's a renowned commentator on the scriptures, going back, I mean, at least 1,000 years. And he's, you know, he's, you know, his explanations, his commentaries on the scriptures are held in very high regard by Mahaprabhu himself, as well as by our gurus as a whole. So, you know, this is showing, you know, Vaishnava mood, right? There's honor being given to previous commentaries that have been made, previous editions of Bhagavad Gita. So the commentaries are the prominent. So of course, you know, many different interpretations of Gita, as Gurudev is expressing here, and most relevant and appreciable by ourselves are those of the Vaishnava school. And our Gurudev, it's, you know, it's notable, our Gurudev is not just mentioning, you know, Vaishnava acharyas who are specifically in our lineage, but he's referring to acharyas from other Vaishnava lines, you know, who have, you know, somewhat different ideology from our own. So Ramanuja, but they've done very important work, you know, in the line of Vaishnavism. Ramanuja, Madhvacharya, Madhva Muni, and the Sridhar Swami. I mean, Sridhar Swami, he's going back a long time. Would you say maybe like 2,000 years ago, Subhasini Didi? He's going back a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time, but I don't know because they refer to like Ramanujacharya is 1,000 years now, right?
Right.
And so that must be before that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so quite ancient. Whilst among the proponents of Jnana Marga, or the monistic path, and by the way, for those who aren't clear, when you hear this term monism or monistic being referred to, it's referring to the Advaita conception, or conception of oneness, right? That ultimately everything is one, and there's no distinction, you know, there's no distinction between the jiva, the individual soul, and the Lord, right? But everything just merges into one. There's just one supreme soul, and we are all a part of that. We are all God, ultimately, right? So this is when you hear this term monism, monistic, that's what's being referred to. And then the commentaries of Srimad Shankaracharya, Madhusudan Saraswati are well known. So our Gurudev is also, honoring even those of the opposition party. And this is quite nice. His Gurudev is just kind of like giving some context from a neutral more or less neutral, somewhat neutral standpoint. He's kind of like placing where does our presentation of Gita stand within the wider group of Bhagavad Gita editions that are available. So Shankaracharya, I think everyone here is familiar with Shankar. He's the most influential, I suppose you could say, proponent of the Advaita school, conception of oneness. And he is, as we know, actually he's said to be an avatar of Lord Shiva, who's coming for a particular purpose, part of a larger plan of the Lord. And then this Madhusudan Saraswati is kind of an interesting guy. I remember Srila Sridhar Maharaj talking about him. I'm trying to remember what era he's from. Not too long ago. I think he might be from a couple centuries ago, like post Mahaprabhu, I believe. Maybe Subhasini can say for sure. But what I remember Srila Sridhar Maharaj saying about him is that he's very dangerous because many of his explanations, they mirror Vaishnava conception. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, I remember now, he calls him a wolf in sheep's clothing. because he's in many places he's sounding like he's going along with the Vaishnava conception, but then it's all ending in the Dvaitavad. Like he's kind of like the Pied Piper, like capturing your attention, taking you along, and then he's actually bringing you somewhere completely different. So a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? A little bit of a dangerous figure. And we know lineages like that nowadays in modern day, right? And that's one interesting thing about these Advaita schools is that they for the most part they follow many of the practices. They follow kirtan. They practice kirtan. They'll have deities, but they see that all as like an interim thing. It's like a lower thing, a stepping stone to something higher, right? Because ultimately there's no recognition of distinction, variety, variegatedness, no acceptance, no recognition of that at all. Everything just merges into one. So the deity is seen as like a tool, worship of the deity, meditation on the deity, that's seen as like a tool to help us get that higher thing of just merging into the oneness. So it can be, it's a little dangerous field. The commentaries, will continue here, the commentaries of Sri Yuta, Bala Gangadhar Tilak, and Sri Aurobindo favor the school of Karma Yoga, or the path of action, and are also familiar to modern scholars. Great thinkers of both East and West have ardently sung the glories of Sri Gita, being inspired by the ideals of its teachings. And of course, here we could bring in so many quotes, right? And probably others in our group have some on the tip of their tongue, right? There are many great philosophers, writers, poets, who have expressed their, deep appreciation for Gita. If anyone remembers one right now they'd like to share, please go ahead. One that our Gurudev used to mention was Oppenheimer. He was the scientist who was involved in the creation of the first atomic bomb. And when they had like a test bomb go off and they saw the explosion, he remembered this verse in Bhagavad Gita. I've heard different versions of which verse it was. One of them is the verse describing the Vishvarup Darshan, the universal form of the Lord. If there were millions of suns in the sky at once, even that could not compare to the brilliance of the Lord. That I've heard some version that he chanted that. And then there's another verse I've heard some say where Krishna is saying, time I am, right? I don't remember the rest of the verse, but he's describing himself as time and along those lines. And death is mentioned. Remember that verse. So that was a one prominent person, scientist, our Gurudev, German, I think, right? Oppenheimer. I'm just sorry, just noticing there are quite a few comments in our chat. Mother. Oh, you're asking about the Gita being referred to as a mother. Yes, I mean, and from in the Vedic tradition, everything is personified. So Gita, is a whole person in herself, right? So Gita is everything's personified, everything's personal from spiritual vision. So yes, Gita is being referred to as a mother. So beautiful. And Marie is saying we are to approach with affection, receptivity, and the intimacy of family. I'm sorry, I don't know what the context was there, but that sounds good.
That was a response to mother. If the Gita is mother, then this is what it says about.
Oh, I see. Yes, yep, sounds good to me. I like that. Very nice. Scarlett's asking, may I humbly ask, is this the same Bhagavad Gita? Yes, this is the same Bhagavad Gita. Hidden treasure of the sweet absolute. And it is available as an ebook online if anyone.
I found it. I couldn't just find the verses that we were reading, so I found it. So it's okay. I have it.
Okay, you got it.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. And some more nice comments from Marie. Bhishma was her stepson. That's right. Bhishma was the son of Ganga Devi. Right.
Yeah.
Bhishma was the son of
That's
Ganga
right.
Devi. That's right. So was that same king also Ganga Devi's husband first? Perhaps. It's such a complicated web of relationship. Yeah, we need a family tree here. Oh dear, Radha Rupini's in a tropical storm. Dear.
That's what that link is. It's to the family tree on the Wikipedia page.
Oh, look at that. Okay, we're definitely gonna follow up on that at the end of the meeting. That's awesome. Thank you, Marie. Arjuna, if thousands of suns were to blaze together in the sky, they will not match the splendor of that great power. Yes, very nice. Okay, let's finish this preface and then perhaps we can go to the family tree. Have some fun. So they also say Einstein, although I think I might have heard that was disputed whether Einstein did or did not read Gita and have appreciation for Gita. Emerson, there were some famous writers and poets. So there's one nice one saying like daily I like to bathe in the waters of Gita. It was one Western writer who expressed that. Anyway, there are lots. And our Gurudev, he liked to make the point, like because there's something, because Gita is so broad in its scope of thoughts, like there's something for everyone in Gita. Right? He mentioned like even terrorists, they'll keep a copy of Gita in their pocket. Everyone's getting something from Gita. However, the Achincha Beda Bed Siddhanta, theology of inconceivable oneness and difference, as revealed by the proponents of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gaudiya Acharya, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, and Srila Baladev Vijayabhushan, is concluded by the learned devotees to be most favorable to exclusive devotion. Oh, and Marie also says, Reverend Ed Trevor's Anglican priest on YouTube is quoting the Gita a few weeks ago. Okay, cool. is concluded by the learned devotees to be most favorable to exclusive devotion. The devotees also embrace. So these two, Vishwanath Chakravarti, Baladev Vijayabhushan, their commentaries have been, and they're appearing in the succession of Mahaprabhu a couple of centuries afterwards. Their commentaries have been particularly emphasized by our gurus, our modern gurus. The devotees also embrace Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Bengali commentary on Sri Gita as a harmonious spiritual mind of the treasure of divine love for Sri Krishna, Krishna Prema, the fifth and transcendental goal of life, beyond the four general human objectives of religion, wealth, sense enjoyment, and liberation. In his introduction, my worshipful divine master, Sri Guru Pada Padma, Om Vishnupad Padamahamsa, Padigachakacharya, Sri Srimad Bhakti Raksha Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj, has revealed to the readers glimpses of his own deep devotional realizations. Although numerous editions of Sri Gita are presently available, few commentaries can be said to nurture pure devotion according to the teachings of bona fide succession, which has given us the opportunity of service in producing this edition. We shall consider ourselves blessed if the fortunate readers take the all-auspicious essence of this sincere attempt to heart. Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda, Shri Chaitanya Saraswati Nabhadev. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yes, Gurudev, we were very thankful. We were very grateful. And this is so nice, right? This mood here, right? This is the mood of the devotees. They're searching for service opportunities, right? So our Gurudev is saying, oh, we have this opportunity to fulfill something, a gap. There's a gap, right? There's not so many editions which are specifically nurturing, this line of thought, this very refined line of thought. So we have, we've seen this as an opportunity of seva, and and what is special about this edition that our beloved Guru Maharaj Bhakti Daksha Sridhar Dev Goswami, he's sharing some glimpses of his own devotional realizations. Okay, well, wonderful. Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. So we're just about the end of our time, but if anyone would like to stay on, we can have a quick look, just as like a fun ending to our meeting. Have a quick look at where's the chat gone? Wait, I've lost the chat. Where did the chat go? Can you help me? I don't know where did the chat box go? Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh no, it's not that. There we go. Okay. All right. Wow. Awesome. Okay. Cool. Okay, got it. So move this out a little bit. So the Kuru family tree. Let's do. So Anasalvan, Bhimasen, Pratishalvas, Pratipa. This is going back really far. Maharaj Shantanu. Okay, yeah. So he did have these two wives, right? Ganga was his first wife. But he kind of screwed that up because she told him never to question her actions. And he did. And of course, it was understandable that he did because she was killing their sons. But she had good reason to. She was actually liberating them from the curse. Welcome to the world of Mahabharata. That's right. So they had their offspring was Bhishma. That's right. But then, so she left him in the end because he questioned her. So then Satyavati was his fisherman's daughter who he fell in love with as she ferried him across the river. And then she had this son Chitrangada, these two sons, Chitrangada and Vichitravirya. And as I recall, they were like really weak, and I think they died early, something like that. And this Vichitravirya had these two wives, but their husband had left, departed his body. And then meanwhile, she had wanted her sons to be king, and she'd agreed to only marry Maharaj Shantanu if her sons would be king, and Bhishma would renounce his right to the throne. And Bhishma said he would, but that wasn't good enough for her. And so finally Bhishma vowed, I just won't marry or have kids. Which was, which is quite a radical thing to do. So, but then of course it went against her because her sons wouldn't have kids, and then Bhishma wouldn't give up his vow. So then what does she do? She calls in her other son, Vyasadeva. So yeah, look over here. This is so helpful. Thank you. So meanwhile, she'd also had a moment with Parashar Muni. So she also had another child. And Vyas was the result of that. So she calls in Vyas. They're faced with this dilemma. They need to continue with the royal line. So she calls in Vyasadeva to impregnate her daughters-in-law, right? And however, what happens is that, because he's kind of scary looking, he's coming from the Himalayas, he hasn't looked in a mirror for a while, or combed his hair, or maybe had a bath. So one of them, she closes her, she ties a cloth over her eyes so she doesn't have to see him when the moment comes. But because of that, her son is blind, right? That's Dhritarashtra. And then the other one, Ambalika, she goes deathly pale. And so Pandu, he's deathly pale, her son. And perhaps there was some other issue too, like he was a little weak or something, but I can't remember. But for whatever reason, they were, so the first one was blind, right? And then perhaps they just they wanted to increase their chances, not just have one fit son. So Satyavati ordered them to have a third go, but they were scared, so they called in their maid, who's not on the chart, actually. She's not, hey, this is an incomplete chart. So that was Vidura. So they called in their maid like as a substitute. And Vidura was very wise. He was like the best of them, but he was actually the son of the maid, so he didn't have quite the same standing. So that's Vidura, who's not on this chart, but he should be. We'll have to do our own version of this. So then this Pandu, he became, so this is helpful to know, because this is how the whole dispute begins, right? Because Dhritarashtra is the eldest son, but because he's blind, he's considered not completely fit. And so therefore the throne goes to Pandu. Right? And Pandu has these two wives, Kunti and Madhuri. But then Pandu gets cursed because he killed a sage while he was having intercourse with his wife in the form of a deer. As you do. And so the sage cursed him that when he went to approach his wife with some lust, he would die. And so Pandu, he unfortunately messed up and went to embrace Madri, and so he died. So then it's all up in the air. How's the succession going to continue? And Madri, she takes sati, right? She dies also. That was like a Vedic custom, right? That the wife will die with her husband, burning herself, which is actually forbidden in this age. Then meanwhile, Kunti, she had a special boon that she'd received as a girl, that she could call upon any god, any deva, to father a child for her, right? And she actually had a secret son, Karna, when she didn't know what the mantra would do. So Karna, she like put him in the lake. That was from the sun god, Surya Dev. So Karna grew up as like the humble son of a chariot driver. He later lines up becomes good friends with Duryodhana, right? The plot thickens. He's actually the elder brother of the Pandavas, but he becomes best buds with Duryodhana. And this is like this is where the origin of all telenovelas, like seriously, this is where they're taking notes from. They all studied Mahabharata, guaranteed. So that's Duryodhana. He's the eldest, right, of these 100 sons of Dhritarashtra, the blind wannabe king. He does rule as king for a while, right? But he's considered that while Kunti's sons are like minors, and he's ruling in their stead, and then he's supposed to hand it over to them as the sons of Pandu, who was the rightful king. But he secretly, he's always, Dhritarashtra is a very interesting, very conflicted character, because he has a side of goodness to him, but he has his darker side, and that tends to get the better of him, that weak side. And he has this very righteous wife, Gandhari. And then Duryodhana's just all out bad, right? And Dhritarashtra is weakened by his attachment to his son. So it's all very complicated. And so I think that's pretty much where we need to go. So these are the 5 Pandavas: Yudhisthira, the eldest, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakul, and Sahadeva. They're twins, right? If I recall correctly. Here's Janamejaya down here. And these are 3 principal sons. So it was 101 sons. Then Arjuna marries Subhadra, Abhimanyu, Parikshit, right, who brings about the beginning of the recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then Janamejaya is his son. Okay, well that was quite helpful. Okay, I'm going to close that screen share. Okay, Chintamani, you're just in time for our Mahabharata family tree. Right. Well, it's been a wonderful meeting. I actually really, it's like fresh every time. Like going through that Mangalacharanam was so beautiful, so sweet. I mean, I kind of tend to like skim over that part, but it was so beautiful to go through with all of you. And there was some, as our Gurudev used to say, always some new light is coming when I go through a good Gita. And I think we were all experiencing something like that today. Well, does anyone want to share any final thoughts, any reflections before we close for today? I'm so excited to be going through again. Like it just feels like we're beginning a new journey, which we are. Oh, Narottam Prabhu has raised his hand. Yes, Prabhu, please.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, so Krishna's appearance in, when it comes to time of the Mahabharata, it's the end of Dwapar Yuga, correct? It's the end of Dwapar Yuga, but Krishna's appearance in the Kali Yuga is more in the beginning of Mahabharata. Maybe not the exact beginning, but like relatively in the beginning. But I don't know if you know this, but I've heard that Dwapar Yuga and Treta Yuga switch when Krishna is coming. So is it like is it Satya Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, Kali Yuga? But this time around it's Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga. Like this is like
that's correct. Yeah. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
Dwapar is referring to like second, right? That's just referring to third. So yeah, that is the normal order of the cycle: Satya, Dwapar, Treta, Kali. But yeah, it's reversed in this cycle. So it's Satya, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali. That's right. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, you're breaking up there.
I saw.
You're breaking up
Can you
there.
hear me better, or is it breaking up?
Maybe.
Oh, that's all I wanted.
Okay. Okay. And was there anyone else who wanted to say anything? Should we close there? Well, thank you all for your good company, this new adventure.
Thank you very much for today.
Jai Shlavati.
Dandavad, thank you for your association.
Dandavad. Jai Shlavati Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Shlavati
Jai.
Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. All these
Jai.
pretty sincere seekers ki Jai. Shrimad Bhagavad Gita.
Jai.
Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan ki Jai. Jai Gaur
Jai.
Hari Bol.
Haribol.
Dandavad.
Time.
Hare Krishna.